Support for The Bittersweet Life comes from our listeners. If you love this show, please support it. Visit patreon.com/The Bittersweet Life Podcast. Welcome to Rome. This is The Bittersweet Life with Katie Sewell and Tiffany Parks. Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
Tiffany is in Rome. Katie is in Seattle. I am a goer. Tiffany is a stayer. I once was a newbie, and we're going to explain to you what that means. This is from an article that was sent to us by one of our listeners, Sarah. Sarah, you sent this quite a long time ago. Thank you. This is letting you know that it was always on our radar. We just hadn't gotten to it yet. This is an article about the kind of transitions that expats go through all year long, every year, but also especially during the month of June. And so we figured we'd tackle it right now. Sarah sent us an article that has the title, "The Transition That Never Ends, The Ongoing Cycle of Expat Stayers, Goers, and Newbies." We'll post the link in the show notes. It's from a website called The Culture Blend. There's no author listed, so thank you whoever wrote this. I just want to read you a little bit of this article just to kind of lay out our premise. Whoever wrote this wrote, "I hate June. There's a reason for that. Where I live, people come and go a lot. That's the part that they don't put in the brochure when you move abroad. Quote, adventure of a lifetime, explore exotic lands, learn new languages, say goodbye to 20% of your friends every summer and random others throughout the rest of the year. Please sign here." It's a big, painful part of the expat experience, though. Transition, that is. Not the expected ones like culture shock or bumbling language mistakes. We saw those coming a mile away. We read books and blogs about those. And then jumping ahead, he says, "But here's the kicker. As long as you live abroad, transition never stops. Ever. The big ones on either end are significant to be sure, but it's the little ones in the middle that will get you. The incessant ones, the ongoing ones, the cynical shifts, the annual flip-flops that never stop, that you never saw coming. We are stayers, goers, and newbies, figuring out life together. The stayers don't stay forever." That's me, I guess. I'm all of these. The stayers don't stay forever. The goers don't go immediately. The newbies need some time to adjust. So that is basically what this article is getting at, is the annual expat exodus, as they put it, the people who come in, the people who flow out, and that this is just an ongoing thing year after year, month after month, but maybe particularly when a school year ends and an expat's planning on going, that's the time to go. So I really wanted to think about this, and they say that, they have all these kind of silly graphs in here that are illustrating this point, that it can be like such a cycle. It's parties, welcoming a person, saying goodbye to a person, when they announce on Facebook that they're leaving, when they promise to come visit later, friends leaving, new people coming, adjusting, decisions, announcements, farewells. They have all these things listed in here about the ongoing cycle that is never ending. And we've touched on this a little bit before in the past, because I mentioned that as a newbie when I first got to Rome, and then as a person who was obviously going to leave, some of the longtime expats I had met really didn't have that much interest toward the end of my time in spending time with me anymore, because what was the point, one of them said, which I thought at the time was very rude. The longer I have explored this as a topic, I understand more and more, why they didn't want to do this. But Tiffany, do you have an initial reaction? And then I'll read part of Sarah's email talking about why this is an article that she revisits year after year as an expat.
My initial reaction is it sounds like she's more of a corporate expat. If I had to just guess, I mean, I'm saying she, it sounds like a woman for some reason, but that might not be true. So I'll just say she, and forgive me if it's not a she. With the farewell parties and the constant exodus, the high turnover, it sounds like somebody who is in the corporate world, a multinational corporation where lots of people are there from around the world, and they come and they go. And if you did work there and you worked there long term, I can see how that would be extremely difficult, especially, your colleagues, these are people who you're spending a lot of time with, and probably they become your social circle as well because you're an expat. So you have, a handicap when it comes to meeting people. So you're going to automatically begin to socialize with those same people, and you're working with them, you're socializing with them, and that would be very hard. And I don't have that experience because I'm not, and I never have been a corporate expat. And secondly, because of the situation that I'm in now, as a married wife of a local, mother of a local, and now a citizen myself, I feel like the so many of my friends are in the same position, and none of us seem to be going anywhere. I mean, especially if you're, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of us are, not all of us. I have friends who are single moms too, and in different situations, and lots of friends who aren't in relationships and aren't mothers. But most of the ones who are, they're with someone who has a job that, being Italian, they don't want to leave because that's a typical Italian thing, which we've talked about. And maybe there's a good reason for that. Maybe it's a great job. Expats, famously like don't have great jobs usually unless they're corporate expats, and so they're often relying on their partner to be the main income earner. And so I was just talking to a newish friend of mine last night. She was talking about when she had kids, she was like, oh, I wish I could live in the countryside, and I wish I could have space and a big yard and this and that and this and that, but my husband's job, it ties us to Rome. And that's just the case for so many people that I know. And I feel like none of us are really going anywhere.
And
And
it's interesting because it's actually kind of changed in time. Like I feel like you knew more of these people when you were younger and you were kind of in the churn of, because
yes,
there is that energy too that's like a whole bunch of young people moving, like whether or not it's for college, for a college a semester abroad, or it's a bunch of young people living their year abroad or something. But it seems like when you're
yeah,
in your 20s, this kind of churn could also be equally
I think
more normal, certainly.
I think a lot of young people come to Europe, whatever the city that they fall in love with is. And it might not be Europe, it might be South America, who knows? It could be anywhere. But in my experience, I've met a lot of people who, at 22, at 24, at 27, whatever year it is, they're like, oh, yes, I love Rome. I went there on vacation, or I studied there. I want to go and live there. And a lot of people go, and especially British people who at that time, before Brexit, could easily go and live in Italy if they wanted to, and work. And they have their experience, they have their year abroad or 2 years abroad, but they're sort of footloose and fancy free at that time. They're not married, they don't have kids, they don't have a steady job. And so it kind of eventually, the typical thing that happens is that people get kind of bored of that, or they're like, okay, I want to like settle down. I have so many friends who are like, I'm going to go back to Britain and settle down and get a real job, or go back to the States and get a real job that has benefits and not do any of this, crazy expat life anymore.
Yeah.
And so I had it. It was a lot. I had a lot. I feel like I lost a lot of people in my life
Hmm.
those first few years, people that I adored and that I sadly don't keep in touch with as much as I would like to. And I miss. And I think about those times. I think about those early Rome years and how many great fun people I knew and hung out with on a regular basis, and how sad I am that they're not here anymore. But
Yeah.
I don't, what I don't agree with in this article is that, the stayers never stay, or the stayers don't stay forever. I feel like they do. I wouldn't say it's a majority, but there's a certain subsect of expats who actually stay forever. And I think getting married and having kids is kind of what seals the deal. And it doesn't mean that they will definitely stay forever, but it's a much bigger likelihood that they will.
Yeah. I do think that I agree with you what you were just saying, but I do think that when you are a goer, say like I was, or even like your friends that you were talking about that do their 1 to 2 years abroad and then they are like, I've got to go put down roots. My experience really was like it was hard to, there's a certain detachment from life that is both freeing, but it also gets to be a point when you kind of know, like, I'm not going to set down roots here, that you kind of start to feel a tug inside of you that's like, I've got to go figure some stuff out now. It's funny because I never thought I'd get tired of sort of the wandering around, exploring, trying new things type thing. But I recognize very strongly, I think I almost recognize it more strongly from the time when we were in San Francisco. And like, whatever, a year or so in, I realized this cannot be where I end up living. It's too expensive. It's impractical. I don't have enough connections here. I don't feel like the tug of love toward this city that will make me want to work as hard as it's going to take for me to make inroads here. And then I just started feeling like a pull of like, all right, you've spent a lot of time exploring this city and walking around and seeing everything there is to see and getting little jobs here and there. And then I just started feeling this pull of like, I want to get back to doing something with people I can do stuff with. Like, I don't even know what it's. It's just hard to sort of explain that feeling where you're just like, I just want to get back to it. And that was when I started talking about moving back to Seattle, because I was just thinking like, where do I have connections? Where do I have deeper friendships? Where do I have business ties? And I want to get going again. And it felt like if I didn't come back here, so I can get that 2-year kick about how it can start to feel like this is great, but surely there must be something more than this.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. That makes total sense. That's the same reason why I feel like sometimes like I could never leave Rome. Not because I do love Rome. That's established. But it's not just because I love Rome and I love the city. Part of it is like, oh my gosh, it was so much work to establish myself here. Like now I have to go do it somewhere else. I can't figure some other place out, make new friends, make new connections. No way. I can't handle that. I can't handle the idea of doing that again. I mean, I think I would do it, but it would have to be, it'd have to be the right circumstance. But it feels daunting.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's almost like for me anyway, if I do this long enough where I feel like rooted and I'm making some kind of progress, then it's equally possible that, I'll start to be like, you know what? I want to have that footloose and fancy-free time again, and maybe I'll take off and start anew. It just felt like, after about 10 years of feeling like I was constantly starting anew, it becomes less novel, it becomes more irritating or like that you're kind of wasting time somehow,
I can totally see that.
Even though
I can totally see that.
Yeah. So let me read a little more. Let me first read a little bit of what Sarah said when she sent this article. She sent it after we did an episode on friendships that made her think about this article. And she said it was an article that she read during her first year living in Morocco. I just want to read a couple paragraphs that she wrote. She wrote, "A friend shared it with me as I experienced the turnover at the end of our first school year here. It groups expats into the categories newbies, stayers, and goers, and it has been a helpful framework as we navigate the constant transition that each school year brings. I come back to this article every year. There's so much to explore with friendships abroad." And then she also says, "The main reason my husband and I are stayers is because we don't want to leave Morocco until we've experienced it outside of the bars of parenthood. A friend who is leaving Morocco this spring recently asked us what's left on our Morocco bucket list, and we said everything. That's not entirely true. We've done some traveling, we've learned a fair amount of Arabic, and we have several Moroccan friends, but so much of our days is spent in the monotony of parenting younger children. We feel like we can't leave until we've really lived in this country instead of just existing here."
I remember that message. I remember when she sent that. It was quite a while ago now, like you said, but I remember reading that. Yeah, that makes sense. I think she might be a school teacher at an international school, which would definitely explain why she identified with this article, because I could see how an international school setting would be similar to a corporate expat setting with people coming and going, not necessarily rooted to the place, but maybe doing an experience of teaching abroad for a couple of years. And yet there are people who do that long term and stay for quote unquote ever. I have a friend who is a parent of kids in an international school. And it's interesting because I mean, her situation is totally different from mine, because she and her husband are both American, and their kids were born in America and they lived in the States until they were, I think, kindergarten and second grade was the age they were when they moved over here. They definitely have Italian friends. but it's a totally different life than the life that I'm leading. And I was talking to her the other day, and I discovered that her kids don't really speak Italian, and they've lived here for 5 years. I was kind of shocked at that, but then again, I was like, well, yeah, they go to international school. It makes perfect sense. All their friends are international. English is their language in common. But what made me think about them actually was we were talking, and she said, "Yeah, I think we'll go back." She's like, "We've decided to stay for 2 more years." And then we're going to go back because then her son will be able to start high school in the States and she wants him to have an American high school experience and her daughter will be in 11th grade. And I said, how does she feel about that? Because you know how close you get to your friends when you're in high school, middle school and high school. And, to have to leave them all like at 11th grade, I mean, it just sounds traumatic to me. And also to leave a place like Rome. I mean, Rome is a pretty amazing place to live, and they live in an incredibly amazing spot in the city. And so, I just thought, oh, what does she feel about this? And she kind of just said, my friend just sort of said, oh, well, everyone always leaves around 11th grade. Everyone always leaves. The way that she said it was almost like, why would she have a problem with it? Everyone leaves it around that age.
Don't be
And
daft,
I was like,
Tiffany. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, and then I came back to it and I was like, well, but how does she feel? Because even if everyone leaves in 11th grade, whatever, I don't even remember what the conclusion of that conversation was, but it definitely brought home that there are vastly different expat experiences. And mine is really, I guess, not. It's no longer an expat experience. It's an immigrant experience. I've started a new life here experience. And I'm no longer just floating around and okay, we'll stay another year or maybe not, or yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that's why this article doesn't ring true to me, is because I guess I'm not really an expat anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you've been one of those people that maybe you thought about going at some point, and you're certainly a newbie, but you're even beyond a stayer. Like you said,
I'm a lifer.
You're a lifer. Yeah. Where's the fourth category?
Tiffany here, just popping in. If you are dreaming of coming to Italy, and specifically to coming to Rome, you're probably thinking to yourself, I don't really want to be in those huge groups of tourist hordes trudging through the Vatican museums, sweltering under the sun inside the Colosseum, wandering around the busy tourist streets, seduced into a tourist trap restaurant just because you don't know where else to go and you're tired and you're hot, looking at amazing things, but not really knowing what you're seeing. What's the point of going all the way to Rome and not really seeing it, not seeing the true city, not experiencing what Rome has to offer and really getting to know the city? Because if you don't know Rome very well, or maybe you've been to Rome and you were a little bit overwhelmed by it, couldn't really take it all in, or maybe you've never been there and you don't really know what all the fuss is about, it can be easy to be overwhelmed by a city like Rome. But if you come in October with Katie and me, we can guarantee you that you will get to know this city on a much deeper level. And when you do that, no matter where you're traveling, it makes that time so much more valuable and so much more worthwhile. And I don't know about you, but when I go deep into a place, that place stays with me. So I wanted to share just a little bit with you about what we're going to be doing in October. We're not going to be going to the Vatican. We're not going to be going to the Colosseum or the Forum. Although if you want to go to those places, we will absolutely make that happen for you. And we can set up tours for you. Or if you don't want to go on a tour, you want to go by yourself, we can help you get the tickets. We are happy to do that, but we won't be going there together. We are going to be discovering the lesser known side of Rome. Now, the thing about Rome, what makes Rome so unique as a city, is that some of the churches in this city, some of the small museums and piazzas, if they were in any other city in the world, they would be absolutely the top attractions. But because Rome has so much, Rome has an embarrassment of riches, that even the second, third, fourth tier sites, even those places that hardly anybody goes to, are so incredible. Anywhere else in the world, they would be your number one site. So those are the kind of places we're going to be going. We're going to be seeing medieval frescoes. We're going to be seeing mosaics. We're going to be seeing incredible works of Baroque architecture, paintings by Caravaggio, by Filippino Lippi, by Raphael, churches that are incredibly beautiful, but just far enough off the tourist track that nobody goes there, and will be there alone and will experience these sites in a completely different way than you experience a very, very crowded, busy city. There are some piazzas and streets and narrow alleyways in Rome that even in the height of high season, when you walk down them, you feel like you're in a small medieval city. After living in Rome for, it will be 20 years by October, I know where to go. I know where to take you. I have the greatest, amazing secret places that I have been collecting and cataloging and, quite frankly, in a lot of situations, sort of keeping to myself because I don't want them to be ruined. But I do want to share them with you. If you're interested in coming to Rome, if that's something that you've been dreaming of doing for a while, consider coming with Katie and myself this coming October 2024. Because we are going to spend 6 nights, 5 days exploring the unknown, the secret side of Rome. I'm going to be telling the city's stories and really sharing with you what makes this city so unique and really what makes it the way that it is, why Rome is what it is. So if you're interested, the dates are 6 to 12 October. You can just get in touch with us by email if you'd like more information. Email us at bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com. That's bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com. We have sold out about half of the rooms, and it's a very small trip, so we don't have a lot of rooms available, but we do have a few left. Please get in touch if you feel like you might be interested in joining us for that magical, unforgettable week. Back to the show.
Let me just throw out a couple more ideas before we're out of here from this article. So they have like these 2 sections that says everybody has something at risk of these 3 categories. Everyone is at risk. So it says a stayer is at risk when a stayer stops engaging newbies because it's going to be too painful to say goodbye. It is a matter of time before the community will grow up behind them and they will be the ones trying to break back in. Which is interesting. So it's like if the stayer disengages with the goers and the newbies, I guess is saying, well, you might find yourself left out. They say the goers are at risk because the mental and emotional shifts begin long before the physical ones. So basically, once you make an announcement that you're about to leave, they say the stayers and the newbies will start to figure out what life looks like without you and adjust accordingly. And that sometimes that means that the goer starts to check out even early. Mm-hmm. Like I'm already on my way out. And it's kind of like that woman telling me, well, it's a little too late for us to get to know each other now. It's just sort of like, well, you're about to be gone. So who cares? And then the newbies, they say the newbie is at risk because the newbies lend a fresh set of eyes and fabulous new ideas to stagnant or stressed environments, often before they can be heard. And so they do this example of like, hey guys, what about doing this? And everyone's like, I'm Bob, by the way. And then the newbies may see what's wrong before anyone is ready to listen. And so for a newbie, patience is the key to sticking it out and staying in the group, I guess. So I don't know, kind of 3 interesting perspectives. It does kind of give credibility to your thought that this is maybe about a corporate expat environment.
I can't even remember the last time I met a newbie expat in Rome. It's a rare breed in my world.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, yeah, we're going to have to completely redo the conceit of this show. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah. Just joking.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Well, we'll put this out there for those of you who are more in this situation. Let's end with a little bit of what this article says. So those are your risks. That's where you might find yourself socially, depending on what category you consider yourself in. And I'm, of course, if you can't tell, Tiffany, and those of you listening, I'm basically kind of skipping around and paraphrasing what this person is writing a lot. But they also have another section that just says, everyone has something unique to give. So stayers, the suggestion is that what you have to give, and Tiffany, I can put you in this category in case you meet any goers or newbies in the outskirts of Rome. Stayers give stability to the whole situation, to this whole churn. They suggest in this article that if you are a stayer, rather than disengaging with the whole emotional churn that is people coming and going, maybe consider watching a goer's children while they're packing up, or showing the newbies where the cucumbers are, as they say in this. So that is the stayers. Goers, they say, give understanding. So I don't know what they mean by that. Let's look a little deeper. For goers, going is the most consuming thing in their lives. For stayers, the going of the goers may be a big deal, but it's not generally all-consuming. So goers who have expectations that stayers will drop everything to be consumed by their 6-month departure are failing to see the broader picture. There are always going to be goers. So you need to provide the understanding that this is unique to you, but it's not unique to the people who are staying behind. And so, yes, have a quality farewell with the people that you love that are staying, but don't be too precious about it, I guess is my paraphrase of what this person is saying. And then the newbies, what do you bring? According to this article, you bring humility. And boy, do I know that. I don't even have to read that paragraph to know that. I don't know if you learned anything about humility from watching me struggle, Tiffany, when I moved to Rome, but
I went through it too, Katie. I was a newbie once too. I remember it too well.
So yes, it can be very frustrating to be brand new in a brand new city, in a brand new place, whether you're abroad or not. And I guess you have to be patient with the new humble place that you are standing in, because you are the person who doesn't know anything and you're just starting to figure it out. And if you can connect yourself to some of those stayers and approach them and ask them where the cucumbers are, that is probably not a terrible thing. Luckily, I had you, Tiffany.
Yeah, yes. And I had you, because I always say the absolute best thing to happen to an expat is for a friend from home to move to their city. It's like winning the expat jackpot to have one of your old hometown friends come and move to your city. But sadly, you left.
Yeah, I guess that's my final question then. And thank you again, Sarah, for sending this article. It will be in the show notes if you want to actually read it instead of hear me just make up what it's about. Was it the jackpot that was sort of like you win the $400, you roll in the dice at the craps table, and then you decide, well, I'll just put it back in and play another couple rounds, and then all of a sudden that $400 is now gone, and it makes everything feel a little bit worse because you were up and now you're down.
Well, Katie, don't make yourself too precious. No, just kidding.
I'm already ignoring the advice from this article.
No.
As a goer, I became too all-encompassing.
Yes, you were my reason for living for that year, Katie. No, it was worth it, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm the kind of person, though, like, I will accept inevitable heartbreak in order to have a great experience.
Oh.
I will. I'm happy to do it. And I've been like that in love situations, friend situations, and I remember, not to go too off topic, but one of my close friends, I wouldn't say closest, but a close friend of mine, we are only friends, and we've been friends forever. We only met each other and encountered each other because she was in my city. She's from France. She was in my city as like a foreign exchange student for like a summer or a month, and we knew someone in common, and we became friends. And I never thought for a second, I'm not going to get attached to this person because they're just going to leave. I think that if there's a true connection, the distance does not matter. You will be friends with that person no matter what.
And even if you weren't, that month might have been worth it. That wonderful month of time together.
For sure.
Yeah, I like that. Well, you can take a step back in time with us if you want to come with us to Rome in October 6th to the 12th. We're taking a very small group of people to Rome on a week-long trip, but we'll take you on walking tours every morning of Secret Rome. And if you're a huge fan of the show, some of that Secret Rome might be showing you where my apartment was when I did live there ever so briefly at that period 10 years ago, right up the street from where Tiffany also lived. And we can show you that apartment as well. But we'll also be showing you, I almost said the major sites of Rome, but I'm not the major sites of Rome, the minor, but just as cool, just as important. I think of some of the places that we visit on the tour and that we're planning on going this year as even more important than some of the major sites, quite honestly.
I think some of them are.
I
sure.
agree, but they are the often overlooked, often undiscovered places that I think are far more fun to visit than the Colosseum, but that's just my own personal opinion.
But you can go to the Colosseum too, though. Like, it's not like you won't have time. You will absolutely be able to go to the top sites as well. And we will pepper a couple of top sites in. Like, I'll take you to Piazza Navona. And, we'll set you up with tickets to other sites and even tour guides if you want for your free time. So it's not just Secret Rome. It's both. It's Secret Rome with us, and then free time. If you want to do top sites, you can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get to know intimately one of the ancient, most important cities in Europe, this is a great way to go from nothing to knowing so much in one single week. I really can't express how much you will discover if you come with us in October. Just send us an email, bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com, bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com if you want to learn some more information, possibly join us in October. And until next time, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
Join us again. Bye.